Hello and welcome to this edition of The Buzz. My name is Shawn Reilly, and The Buzz is a show where we try to promote all the good things that are happening at Abington High School, especially those things that revolve around Abington High School Green Wave sports. We've been fortunate enough to interview student athletes from the soccer program, basketball program, hockey, golf, baseball, football, you name it. And for this edition, we've got a special guest, someone from our wrestling program here at Abington. James Spinney joins us. Welcome aboard, James.
Thank you.
James, you've been incredibly successful in your career as a wrestler here at Abington High School. You have a unique situation that Abington High School doesn't have its own team. So tell the viewers at home, where do you actually practice and compete?
I practice with Rockland over at the Rockland High School.
So it's part of a co-op that you're basically on a shared team, much like we had with hockey with Abington, East Bridgewater, things like that. Was it difficult at first when you kind of were the Abington guy going over to Rockland?
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard shifting over and meeting all the new people, having anybody.
And we were talking before we started taping. You're the only Abington representative on that team right now.
Yes.
But you're also one of the more successful guys in that program. So congratulations. I want to talk a little bit about how you got into wrestling. Were you a wrestler as a kid, or is it something you just picked up in high school? How did you get into it?
As a little kid, I always watched the UFC. I wanted to be a UFC fighter.
Really?
So I got into like MMA, karate classes and all that when I was younger, and I wanted to do like Muay Thai.
Yeah.
So I started out wrestling through the whole high school.
Did you play any other sports at Abington High School other than wrestling?
I started off with freshman year. I was playing soccer.
Yeah. And then wrestling kind of came up, and that was your gig, and you went there.
Yeah.
So were you... How do you learn about wrestling? I mean, if we don't have the program here at Abington, what do you say to a younger guy or woman out there in Abington who might be interested? Would you encourage them to get involved? How do they get involved? What's it take? Do you have to be in great shape to be a wrestler?
You don't got to be in great shape. There's like weight classes, so you can be in like your weight class you're in. You can cut weight to go to the lower weight class. You can like gain a little weight, like put on muscle throughout the season.
Meaning that if you're not a guy of big stature, they're not going to make you compete against a guy who's 6'2".
Yeah.
Everyone, what are the weights? You're in the 106 division, so you can't be more than 106 pounds.
Yeah.
What are there a couple of?
They give pound allowances. So some meets I could be like 108, 110.
Gotcha. And so I have to guess that if you're training as a wrestler, you're lifting weights, you're running, you're working on your technique, and just by lifting weights and stuff, you're bulking up.
Yeah,
you're gaining weight. So is it always a battle of trying to stay under your weight limit?
Yeah, you gotta stop eating a little bit and cut more a little.
Now, are there times in the year that you want to move up to the next division, or you try to stay where you are?
You want to try to stay where you are. If you wrestle at a weight class for like a certain amount of times, you can't go up like later in the season.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So describe to me what a practice is like then for a wrestler. You get over to Rockland High School after school?
Yes. Right after school, I would go right to Rockland High School, and then we would practice. Some days we'd go into the weight room and lift. Some days we'd run, and some days we'd just stay in the gym and wrestle and practice. And
how do you learn the different techniques? I know very little about wrestling. We used to do it in gym when I was in high school, so that's about the limit of my knowledge. How do you learn, the takedowns, the point? Well, tell me, first of all, what is the point system? How do you win a wrestling match?
A takedown, you get 2 points, and if you escape, you get 1. A reversal is also 2 points.
So takedown meaning literally putting your opponent on his back or on the floor, right? And if your opponent has you on the ground and you're able to, for lack of a better, wiggle out of it, get out of it, you get points for escaping.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you get them to their back, you can get back points. The ref counts to 5. That's the most you can get. It's 3 back points.
And is there any sort of, I would assume there's illegal moves? Yeah. Restrictions, like tell me the things you can't.
You can't do like certain slams, like no submissions, obviously.
Yeah. You can't. Can you hit to the head?
You can like grab into the head a little bit. You can't actually like hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Headlocks? Full Nelson?
Yeah, headlocks. You can't full Nelson, but headlocks are fine.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that. Full Nelson, half Nelson, all that. So as as you're competing, now you were very successful in competing, especially this your senior year. Let's talk a little bit about it. You went to the States. Well, first of all, you did very well in the league. The Abington Rockland wrestling program did very well, but that you always are competing as a team, but you're also competing individually in your weight class.
Yeah.
So you go to the States. You're competing against all these other high schools in the States. How'd you do?
So we had sectionals. I placed second at sectionals.
Really?
And I got injured like the day before sectionals, so I didn't even know if I could wrestle at sectionals.
Wow.
And I wrestled through it, and I placed second. And then the next weekend, we went to States, and I beat the kid I lost to at sectional finals at States.
That's
and
classic.
then, so I took fourth at States, and then I moved to All States, and I beat the state champ that won our state at All States, took fifth there, and then went to New England and got 18th.
Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome, and great to have that retribution, beating the guy that beat you.
Yeah.
So I was that kind of led me to my next question. Are there certain guys in the area that you really kind of have your eye on, like, I really want to beat this guy?
Yeah, sort of. There's this, at All States, I lost to this Colgan, his kid named Colgan.
Where's he from?
Don't really remember the team.
Not around here, one of the other schools? Yeah.
Yeah. And he was pretty good, but I think I could have beat him.
So are these, how long is a typical match? Is it over in a minute, or is it more
each period is 2 minutes, but if you pin them by getting them fully on their back, like their shoulder blades down, the match is over right then.
And that's the typical thing we see with the 3 count, when you pin their shoulder blades down.
Yeah.
So you learn different moves. How do you learn the different moves? Is it all coaching? Do you do your own research? What do you do during the summer? How do you learn?
You could do your own research during the season. Our coach we would circle up with our coach, and he would sort of show us the move, and then we would go like try it and like keep practice. It takes a while. Like you get it over like a couple of years.
And so, do you have like a signature move that you're kind of known for?
I'm good at like staying on like the feet, so I take it down.
Really?
Good. So like when I took them down, I would sort of like cut them and like let them up a little.
Yeah.
So I was good at like single leg takedowns. I would cut right to it.
So if you're talking to say a middle schooler here at Abington, and they're interested in getting on the wrestling team, whether it's because they want to get in shape, use it as a way to get in shape, or they want to compete, what would you tell them to do? Like what kind of, other than sign up for the team, what's a good kind of workout regimen for them? Does running help? Is it more weightlifting, or is it a little bit of everything?
Yeah, it's a little bit. You need agility, speed. You obviously need to lift to get muscle.
Did you ever think you'd be this good at it?
I didn't know I was going to be this good until I started, which I stopped playing my other sports for, so I could see how much better I could get at this, because I started later than everybody else, and I was beating like most of the kids that started when they were like younger.
It's got to be impressive. I mean, you've gathered quite a following of people. I know that Abington High School has been very proud of you. You can follow it on Twitter, how you're doing, and your coach, Pete Harrison, puts out some updates from the Rockland Wrestling Twitter handle and all the different other social media things. What do you feel like? What can wrestling do for you moving forward? You're a senior now, ready to graduate. Is there something you want to do and continue to do in college?
I was going to do a year of junior college.
Yeah.
I got a full ride to the school in Kansas. I was thinking about going there. And
full ride because of wrestling?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then I was gonna, after a year, I was gonna see where I could make it. I was gonna try to go D1 from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And still stay. I mean, I'm assuming the college weight class is different than the high school weight class?
The lowest weight class is 125. I can bulk up to
So you're in there, and
yeah.
I mean, as you get older, you're going to bulk up a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating to see someone who just jumps into a sport and then excels at it.
Yeah.
And you're one of those guys, Jason Spinney. You got to remember this kid's name, and also give him space if he's walking down the hall. Apparently. What do you enjoy? Just some of the guys from Rockland, good guys.
Yeah.
Obviously, you kind of get a little camaraderie going around.
The team coaches really brought me in, really showed me.
Great.
That they were my team family.
Excellent. Yeah. Do you kind of, when you're around here in Abington, are you like kind of trying to recruit other guys from Abington? To
yeah, I was trying to ask like my friends and like kids around to like join.
So you wouldn't hesitate to tell people that wrestling's a great thing to do.
Yes, it is a great sport.
As we were talking before the show, I'm glad you're on, because wrestling doesn't get a lot of coverage, on cable TV or in the newspapers or anything. But yet we hear how well you're doing. So we wanted to kind of get you on and kind of celebrate you and congratulate you because, I mean, it's great when you do really well in the league. That happens a lot of times. But when as you just gave us the rundown, what you did so well in the States, and then you went to the All-States, and then you went to New England. You're 18th in all of New England. This 106-pound kid from Abington. It's impressive, James.
Thank you.
I mean, and I hope that, people in Green Wave Nation, if you bump into this guy, James Spinney, you will kind of shake his hand and congratulate him. So let me do that again. I want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
And I wish you the best when you graduate from Abington High School. Whatever you do, if you go all the way out to Kansas, I'm sure they'll be happy to have you.
Yeah.
But James, thanks for coming here to be on The Buzz. And we will going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with another James from Abington High School who has a lot more to talk about, I assure you. So we'll take a quick break. All right, we're back with our second segment of The Buzz. My name is Shawn Reilly, and want to thank again James Spinney for being our guest for the first segment. And for our second segment is a guy that sometimes you'll see him at a game with a microphone, sometimes you won't. He won't have a microphone, but either way, you're probably going to hear his voice, and that is none other than James Madden. Welcome aboard, James. You are well known in Abington High School because you're a multi-talented guy, and I wanted to talk to you about the whole season we just went through, the winter season and coming into the spring season. Abington was fortunate enough, you did a lot of commentary for us for the basketball season. Let's talk about that. Abington boys, girls basketball, fun season for both teams. Girls had Ella Williamson gets the 1,000 point mark, which was a great thing to watch, and really just a competitive team again this year.
Yeah, and they was very fortunate to be a part of both teams, be around them. I mean, we went up to Charlestown for the boys team. I did countless girls games, countless boys games, and yeah, they had a very fun season, like you said. Ella Williamson, she had a great career in her 3 years at Abington High. She's in my grade, so she's also a senior. Yeah, and she's headed to Clemson next year. That's a great school. I know I have a friend who's down at Clemson, so I'm sure as your nephew
there, yeah.
So, but I kind of forgot about that for a second, but. Yeah, but in Coach Carey, it was his first year with the team, so it's it's a big jump. He had never been a varsity head coach. He was the freshman coach, and he was a great player. He's a great coach. I mean, was fortunate enough to play baseball and basketball for Coach Carey. Yeah. So it was his first season, so it's tough coming into a team and coaching in your first year. But all things considered, I think they had a very solid year. Obviously, unfortunately, missing the tournament, but I think they had a very young nucleus this year. So I think the future is bright for the basketball program, and I feel like they always have a lot of girls that are there and that are come out for the team every year. So I'm sure next season Coach Carey will be doing great things with the Green Waves.
Yeah, I mean Coach Carey was an awesome basketball player of his own, and losing Ella Williamson, losing a girl like Rebecca Ricks, who I just loved watching Rebecca Ricks play. She's a competitor, but as you mentioned, they got a lot of young talent, Savvy Erickson, Ella's younger sister, just a lot of good talent that they're going to have a good season next year. And we can say the same thing with the boys team. I mean, the boys team had a fantastic year. They kind of had it all this year where they had some good guard play. They had two big men. They had some three-point shooting out there. They had some great three-point shooting. That was a fun season to watch too. And you were the commentator through most of it.
Yeah, and I was there for pretty much every step of the way with that team. I mean, they started, I remember the beginning of the year when they dropped their only league loss, they dropped one to Sandwich. Yeah. And that was a game that really stung for them. They felt like they should have had it. And ever since then, they kind of went on a roll. And I mean, one, signature win for me was their win over Norwell here at Abington High. They clinched a share of the league title. Norwell had been, I think, 15-0. Yep. And the three guys for me, but it was mostly, Connor Pease, the captain down low, and then the two super sophomores, I called them on seemingly every broadcast, in Tyler Stady and Kingston Maxwell. And they're both going to be juniors next year, so they got 2 more years here. And like you said, they're just only going to get better and only going to get stronger. And I mean, they didn't lose to a shabby opponent in the playoffs in Charlestown. So it was a successful year and a very fun year And they had another team that had a very young team. So hopefully again next year, I'm going to try and get back. I was already talking with some of the guys here at Abington Cam with Kevin Tachi and all that crew, but I want to get back, when I'm on Christmas break and do, for old time's sake and get on a call. But I'm excited to see what they have in store for next season.
Oh, we'd love to have you there because it was exciting. As you know, I help out. I volunteer at the games too. And, that early loss to Sandwich was just disappointing. And I think the team was kicking themselves, that we should never have lost that game. And it kind of made them push themselves further. And hopefully at the beginning of next season, they'll remember that and kind of come out of the gates charging. But you mentioned the Norwell win in Abington, beating an undefeated team that they had previously lost to in a game that they could have, should have won. It was a nice turnaround. They really started to gel at the end of the season going into the playoffs. And we saw a fantastic game against Medway, a strong team, and they just kind of put it. Let's talk about some of those plays. So Tyler Stady, downtown Freddie Brown, right? I mean, he is the three-point shooter extraordinaire to the point that any team that scouted us knew you had to put a guy in Tyler's face, right?
Yeah, and I mean, going back, I remember I put some of those clips on Twitter after the game, the Medway game. I remember, I think it was a tie game at one point, or I think the Green Wave had a 3-point lead. In Tyler Stady, he had a transition look. He pulled up from 3, and he drilled it. And I just remember the entire gym just erupting, and it was just one of the coolest moments. And that's what Tyler Stady has done not only this year, but his freshman year too. And I'm sure for Coach Serino and the whole Green Wave program, they're hoping he's going to continue to do for the next 2 years. Yeah. And that's drill threes.
And then you had a couple of great guard play. You had Michael Reilly. You had Nate. You had Kingston Maxwell. Kingston is a very athletic player, and we saw that. He can go to the hoop. He can shoot. He can rebound. And as you said, he's just a junior right now. He'll be a senior next year, along with Michael, and going to be strong and again versatile play. And we had a great addition this year with Jake McSherry. I mean, not too often do local high school teams have 2 big men and 2 good big men. I mean, Connor Pease was one of the best. Great footwork, really good hands, aggressive, poker face throughout the game. And then you got Jake, who is just, his game just really improved through the season, and looking forward to what he does next year.
Yeah, and I think I said it, I think Jake McSherry and Connor Pease really in that game against Medway, for about the first 3 quarters or so, they really were the reason the Green Wave were in it. I mean, the Green Wave I think went down 9 in the third quarter, and Connor Pease, especially Jake McSherry, I think he had 7 blocks in that game.
Yep.
So he just really willed the Green Wave. He kept them in it, and then when they hung around, that's when guys like Kingston Maxwell and Tyler Stady, were able to do what they do. Maxwell had a couple tough finishes at the rim. Stady knocked down a couple threes, but Jake McSherry for me was the MVP in that game because of how well he defended, especially at the rim on the defensive end, and he just kept the Green Wave in it when they were down 9, 10 points in that third quarter, and they came all the way back to get a 4-point win, and against, like you said, a very good Medway team.
And I think we can't overlook the bench players for the Green Wave. I mean, there's some role players there that were outstanding. That when someone took a breather, you didn't lose a beat when you had some of those guys coming off the bench, and that's going to play well for next year.
Yeah, and another thing I think that's important is some of those guys that even maybe didn't even see the floor, just being the guys that push the guys at practice. Run up and down. They're still there with the team, just being good teammates. Like one of my good friends, Ryan Simonetti, he was a senior. Right. He didn't get in a ton, but he was just one of those guys that pushed everybody at practice. And he's, as hard-nosed as it gets. I mean, I remember seeing him on the football field, he's not afraid of just about anything. So guys like him, Connor Orlandella, his first year with the varsity team, guys like them that in their senior year, like I said, didn't really get a ton of minutes, but still had their presence felt and still were very good teammates. And very important. Will LeBlanc, I mean, he's one of my best friends too. And, I always said he's like a Dennis Rodman type. He never wants the ball in his hands. He's just a defender and a rebounder. And every team needs that. And Will LeBlanc, he accepted his role and he thrived in it.
Well, Will LeBlanc, I mean, he was a captain, and because of his effort, he wasn't going to be the top scorer. Everybody knew it, but everybody wanted him on the court, because he just kind of set the tone out there. It was really great to watch this team really play well together. And I think, Coach Serino mentioned that it was those number 7, 8, 9 guys that were intense in practice that made the team so well and did so well in the playoffs. So they beat Medway, and just because of the brackets, their next game is against a team from Charlestown. And what happened with that?
That was as good of an atmosphere as I think I've been a part of at the high school level, because the first quarter the Green Wave went up, I believe, 9 points. Tyler Stady was red hot from 3.
And Charlestown's the number 1 ranked
Charlestown number 1 team. They had beaten Catholic Memorial. They had gone wire to wire with Wareham, who was one of the best teams in the state. They had beaten some of the best teams. And Abington, for like I said, they were up 9 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Tyler Stady was lighting it up from 3, but eventually they just kind of ran out of steam, and Charlestown, being the #1 team in the division, ended up, taking care of business. They obviously went on to win the state title as well.
Yeah, they did. And
it seemed,
pretty easily, too.
It seemed like no one was really, they kind of took care of business pretty easily against anybody, but, they were a great team. That's probably the best team Abington had faced all season, if I were to, say. But, and that was, like I said, it was one of the best atmospheres. The Green Wave, their fan section traveled.
Very well.
They took the fan bus. They came with the energy, and that first quarter was one of the, most fun first quarters I've been a part of.
It was shocking, right?
Yeah. And
no one expected it.
Tyler Stady pulling up from 30 feet, drilling a 3. I think he started 5 for 6 from 3.
Yeah.
And then eventually, obviously, the Green Wave ran out of steam, but I think they finished overall 18-6, so still a very solid season for the Green Wave.
And that was one of those instances where I don't think Charlestown scouted Abington at all, because they figured, we're just going to roll over these guys. And all of a sudden, they're down by 9, and they are like, hold on, timeout, what just happened, right? So kudos to the Abington kids who just came out, and again to the Green Wave fans. Green Wave Nation once again showed up at Charlestown High School, and it was an electric atmosphere. And then hockey had a great season in this past fall. A lot of really good play on the ice, and you were there for a lot of those games.
Yeah, and I was kind of a social media guy for them, providing updates throughout the games on Instagram, on their Instagram account. But I think, they had a very good season. They had an older roster, but still a lot of youth.
Yeah.
And I think Nick Harris, who was their starting goalie, he's only a sophomore. He was replacing Spencer Merrick, which are some big shoes to fill. But I think he did a very nice job.
He did, yeah.
It was his first year, I think, ever playing hockey goalie. And the other kids were like, he's also a lacrosse goalie, too. And other teams came in, they're like, this is really this kid's first time ever playing goalie, because he looked very good.
Yeah.
And according to other teams, I might be a little biased because I do like Nick a lot, but other teams are like, he might be one of the best goalies in the league, and he had never played goalie prior to this season. So I think he really gave them a chance to win. I remember they played Norwell, who I believe came in second in the league, but they had won a state title the year before. And it was 3-2 with 3 minutes left, and he was making crazy save after crazy save.
Yeah.
I was like, this is really a kid who had never played goalie before November. So I think shout out to Nick, and shout out to some of the guys. I'm very close with all the hockey kids. Cullen Crocker, who's my teammate on the baseball team. Johnny Halpin, who I actually won bromance with in the yearbook this year in the superlatives.
Great.
So I'm very close. Evan St. Martin, another one of my good friends. So I was there most of the games. I didn't miss a home game. Missed a few road games because there was often, Wednesday nights. I wasn't feeling the ride down to Gallo.
No.
But I was there. I would follow along, and there was some of my really good friends. So I love to just go support my friends and go. And Coach Woodford, he's one of the best guys in the Abington athletics.
He's electric.
Yeah, he is. And shout out to them. And I loved being a part of the team, even as small as someone as a social media, posting on their Instagram with the updates. But I love those guys, and I love being at every game.
It was a fun season to follow, and you're right. Having a sophomore goalie excel, playing like a senior, and kind of just gave the confidence to the guys out in front of them, and they were all working hard to help the goalie. But they now all of a sudden had the confidence that he can handle his own at the same time, which then allows the offense to take over. So you get the guys like St. Martin and all going down there doing damage at the other end of the ice, and we also had the benefit of having an ESPN commentator come and do one of the games.
Yeah, and it's not every day. I went from seeing him as the host of, late night Sports Center to announcing an Abington High School hockey game.
We're talking about
Rockland.
Buchagras.
John Buchagras, yeah. I believe some relation to Zach Buchagras. I think he's second cousins with him. I don't know. It's something extended family, but yeah, he's one of the legends at ESPN. He's one of the top ESPN hockey guys. You turn on ESPN, chances are he's announcing an NHL game. He used to be I will believe one of the co-hosts of the late night Sports Center show. Yeah. So as a kid, I go from watching him on Sports Center to seeing him call an Abington High School hockey game at Rockland Rink. So it's night and day. But it was a great moment. It's not every day you can have that experience to have someone call a game that works for ESPN, call an Abington High game, or if you're in the shoes of the kids on the ice, play in front of a guy who's usually announcing the games of David Pastrnak and Brad Marchand.
And hear him call your name with his voice.
Exactly. Right? You grow up watching him on ESPN. Now he's sitting at the top row at Rockland Rink saying your name. I believe they got an overtime win. That was one of the best games I had been to. It was a senior night game a win over Cohasset, so it was a great game too. So he chose a good game to come to. It was a 4-3 overtime win. Sam McDonald, another sophomore, got the game winner.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like having an ESPN announcer call your name as you get a game winner.
Oh yeah. The only thing we didn't get on the top 10 that night or whatever, but it was great. Mad Dog Matt Nelson did the game with him, and it was just very generous of John Buccigross to come down to the Rockland rink to do the Abington game, and it was a thrill for everyone involved with the hockey program. Let's move on now. You are big into college basketball, especially. You got a podcast, you got an Instagram account. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was going back to my old posts. I think so. Apparently, I started November of 2018, which is a lot longer than I thought I did. That's really when I kind of got into the industry per se. But over the past 2-3 years, I've been able to grow my platform a lot more and become to the point where I'm able to connect with players. I just last week I was helping a player, someone I'm close with, Tyson Commander. He was in the transfer portal, so trying to get his highlight tapes and get some publicity so college coaches can see. And he's playing at Loyola Maryland, but this past season. But I've been very fortunate, like over the past few years, to get to grow my platform to the point where I can help kids like Tyson be able to get recruited or maybe find a new home if it doesn't work out. And really just been like, I love what I do, and it's like I think when I was on here last winter, I talked about how like this is for me, college basketball's always been better than like anything else, college sports, because it seems like when you cover high school kids or college kids, they're just much more grateful because you're able to connect with them more.
Yeah.
Because I'm covering kids that are the same age as me, so I just know what it's like, and I can understand what it's like to be helped out. And I just love to help kids out, even though some kids are older than me. It just feels like I'm doing. And I love to just try and help kids like Tyson and other kids. And I know a kid from Senegal that's trying to move to America and try and get try and eventually play college basketball. And it is a challenge to help some kids that are, so far away, but I try my best, and I'm just very fortunate to have met some great people and built such a great platform.
So if people want to follow you, where do they go to?
So it's on Instagram. It's NCAAB Top 25. I'm close. I'm almost at 21,000 followers. I'm at 20.5 right now, but this is really my busy time of year with all the transfers, the commitments, the Final Four. But I love it. I've watched basketball every day since November 6th or whenever the first day was.
After you do your homework.
Oh, after I do my homework. Yeah, obviously the homework comes first.
Right.
If my mom ends up watching this, but but I just love what I do, and as college basketball's always been a passion of mine. I've been able to build a better following on Twitter. And I feel like Twitter's a harder place to build a following. Yeah. But I've just been very fortunate to meet great people, and hopefully, I go off to Kansas next year, so hopefully this is just the beginning of my journey.
I was just going to say, if you couldn't guess, for viewers at home, if you couldn't guess what school he's going to, he's wearing the colors, he's wearing the shirt right now. He's been accepted by Kansas, so that's congratulations.
Thank you.
You're going to the journalism program.
Yeah, I will be at their journalism.
And you have a podcast that you work on now too.
Yeah, with my uncle, we do a podcast here in the great studio here at Abington Cam called Madden on Hoops. It's on Spotify. I believe we have posted the links on Twitter. I believe we've had 3 episodes come out. But we just talk everything basketball related, whether it's the season, the tournament, the Final Four, the early rounds. We've talked players, coaches, transfers, you name it. We've talked about it. And my uncle and I were very into basketball. He's obviously an assistant coach here with the high school team, and I've just been I call myself a diehard college basketball fan since I've been 12 years old. So I've just been fortunate to have a co-host like my uncle who shares the same passion of basketball with me. And, I could talk basketball for days and days. So I just love it.
I just want our viewers at home to take a minute to realize this is an Abington High School student, right, who is connecting with players in Senegal, which for those of you who don't know is a foreign country, trying to help these guys and kids across the country, boosting up, connecting with them into their college level. You've built up your own podcast, you built up your Instagram account, and now you've been accepted by Kansas. You're just a great example of someone finding a niche and excelling at it. And James, we're very proud of you for doing that.
Thank you.
Let me get back to college basketball for a second. What do you think of the tournament? The men's and women's tournament have been outstanding this year.
Yeah, I know, and I think something I want to shed light on is I feel like the women's tournament doesn't get the love it deserves because, some of those girls are so skilled. Watch Caitlin Clark. If you haven't ever heard about Caitlin Clark at this point, I think
you're under a rock somewhere, right? Yeah.
And the Caitlin Clark versus LSU, Angel Reese, that was must-see TV. I remember we had a game in Carver that day, and when I got home, the first thing I did was turn on the LSU-Iowa game. And I've been watching. I've watched a lot of both tournaments. I've watched more so of the men's than the women's because I do know more men's players and more about the men's. But as we get deeper, like every year, I think for the past 8 years, I've watched the women's Final Four because it's just, I think women's basketball, people like to quote unquote hate on it a lot. But I love women's basketball. Caitlin Clark is a must-see TV.
It's a different game now than it was 10 years ago.
And
It's unbelievable.
Caitlin Clark, I mean, those girls, I mean, Bardosa over at South Carolina, they're 38-0. So, I mean, you just have to watch. When the women's Final Four is on, I recommend any basketball fan, you have to watch it because it's of how competitive and how great it is. And same with the men's Final Four this weekend. I mean, this is my favorite time of year with the Final Fours. Basketball, I mean, the NIT championships tonight, Indiana State, who everyone wanted in the tournament. So I'm just excited. I mean, I love March Madness every step of the way, no matter if there's all upsets or no upsets, whatever it is. I mean, we have an 11 seed NC State, and I watched, with this whole NC State run, I was like, what might be fitting? I watched the Jimmy Valvano speech the other day. Like, this just feels like it's right after they beat Duke. And I was like, why did I watch this? Because now I found myself getting emotional watching it. But, I mean, it's just, if you're a sports fan, you love the Final Four and you love both the men's and women's basketball tournaments because there's nothing better than watching college kids care as much as they do and put it all out on the floor and leave it all out on the floor.
And it's electric with the student bands and the student section and the alumni.
Yeah.
I was fortunate to go to the UConn Illinois game at the Garden. And, I didn't go to either school, but I had to be there for the excitement of it all. And it was electric. And now we're taping this show before the final game, before the Final Four. Who did you pick to go all the way?
So every year I always say, I've watched more basketball than anyone. I'm going to do very well in this.
Yeah.
And it never usually ends that way. I actually had Houston winning it all. And Houston obviously got bounced from the Sweet 16. So I had Houston. I think the only Final Four pick I had right was Purdue. I tried to overthink it, and I picked Auburn over UConn, and that obviously ended miserably for me.
Yeah.
So, but I had UConn.
I had Houston in the Final Four.
I had Houston winning it all. But like I said, every year my bracket usually comes to a crashing end, but pretty
I did
quickly.
pick UConn to go the whole way,
Yeah.
but I think my other three have been maybe I might be down to just UConn or maybe two teams. But I mean, that is such an impossible bracket to predict.
Yeah.
And when you get NC State, playing the way they're playing and making superstars of themselves for these unknown guys, it's a thrilling tournament every single year. I don't know how they do it,
Yeah.
So let's move on to spring sports here at Abington High School. We'll go back to the high school part. You're involved actively in the spring sports as a member of the baseball team. We've got a very exciting baseball season coming up. Softball looks to be going to have a real promising season. We got lacrosse out there on the turf fields. Let's talk about what you expect to see from the Green Wave.
I mean, I think everyone seems to have a lot of promise. I mean, our baseball team, we've been very fortunate the past 3 years to have very successful years. Went to the state final last year. We lost to a very good Seekonk team. My sophomore year, so 2 years ago, we went to the state semifinals, a game against Manchester Essex that we all still kick ourselves in the foot about.
Yeah.
But I feel like because that was a game we could have won. And then freshman year, we went out to Springfield and lost in the state final to Hopkins Academy, another very good squad. But I feel like, I think we only have 2 non-senior starters, so it feels like this is the time for us and might be one of our last shots. But I mean, so like we're 1-1 right now. We won on opening day. We dropped a heartbreaker to Norwell on Tuesday afternoon. But I think there's a lot of promise with our squad. I mean, we have a great staff: John Stellan, Stephen Madden, Ryan Salmini, Henry Rogers. We have a very old lineup. I mean, our lineup at this point has been around the block now.
Yeah.
So, and I just think, there's a lot of promise. And same with the softball team. You talked about it. And we try, as a baseball team, we're very close with the softball team, so we try to get to as many games as we can. And I've been fortunate. I've called a couple games in the past. Maybe I'll get on a call this year on, depending on my availability. But, they're very good. I mean, I think they have a younger squad. I was talking to Ava DePietro about it. I think they only have 3 or 4 seniors and a more so younger team. I think
Young
one
pitching
junior
staff, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they are a team that seems like they have a ton of success every year too. They won a state title a few years back. They're always in the mix in our division.
Yeah.
And speaking of in the mix, the lacrosse teams. I mean, I believe the girls lacrosse team is a new coach, and I think they won their opening matchup too against East Bridgewater.
Yep, they did.
And I have I'm very close with their old coach, but I think the girls lacrosse team, I think they're a fairly new program, but I think that they have the opportunity to shine. And maybe same thing with the boys lacrosse team. I was talking to a couple of my best friends are on that team, so he was talking. I think they never made it as far as the Elite Eight as they did last year.
Yeah.
And I remember we had played an Elite Eight game against Amesbury for baseball. We had won 3-2, so we're like, it's what is it? It was 5:30. Their game started at 6. So like, let's hop on the highway. Let's get up to Weston. We were there by halfway through the first quarter. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get to the Final Four. But I mean, it was a successful season for them. Coach Grafton, I believe it was his second season. And I was talking to Johnny Halpin, one of my closest friends. I think it was the farthest they'd ever made it. And Pat Pruitt, unfortunately, he won't be with the team this year. He has an injury. Another one of my good friends. I'm very close with all the lacrosse kids.
You have a lot of good friends.
I don't know. I try to stay well-rounded. But like I feel bad, for Pat, because I know how much the lacrosse team means to him, and he hurt his knee in his winter hockey league. But he's still a captain. He's still there as a leader. I saw him providing updates on the Instagram page yesterday. But I mean, I'll be at the game hopefully today against Mashpee, so I'll be there supporting. But I hope I'm hoping they have another successful season and make it farther. Like I said, I think last year the Elite Eight was the farthest they'd ever made it. Yeah. So I'm hoping they make it to the Final Four and get a banner up on the wall for the first time in program history.
And we got to send a shout out to Hunter Grafton, who just scored his 300th point in the lacrosse program, which is outstanding. And right behind him was Johnny Halpin, right? He got 200. So really a lot of individual talent and team talent in both the girls and boys lacrosse programs. And they play on the turf fields. If you're, some afternoon you want to see a game, you come up to the Abington High School and watch them on the turf. Baseball plays behind the Froyo School on the varsity diamond there. And if you haven't been to the varsity softball field this year, you'd be impressed. Brand new dugouts, brand new backstop, brand new scoreboard, brand new bleachers, all thanks to the American Rescue Plan Act and the Community Preservation Funds. It's probably now the nicest softball diamond in southeastern Massachusetts, if not beyond. And those girls deserve it. And we got the state championship sign up there on the scoreboard from 2019. I just saw Lauren Kelleher on ESPN again, who's a graduate from Abington High School. She's playing for BU softball and literally tearing the ball, tearing the cover off the ball. Another Abington student athlete doing great. And I think we're going to hear a lot more about this guy James Madden as he moves beyond Abington High School and gets into his college levels. But you have been helping out a lot promoting other people. As when you do the commentary, when you're doing your social media stuff. And there's gonna be a huge void when you graduate. So we need another James Madden type to kind of fill the void at some of the home games, to do either cable TV commentary or to lead the bleacher creatures or whatever. What is it you'd tell a guy? I mean, if they've never done cable TV commentary before, I'm afraid to do it. What would you say to them?
I mean, I would just say, just be yourself. I mean, I'm always myself. I mean, I'm never going to be anyone but myself. I mean, I think that's good enough. And come down to Abington Cam, because there's a great team here. Yeah. I mean, my sophomore year when I came in here, I felt welcome right away. I mean, we're like a little family around here. They have intern meetings. I mean, I remember a couple new interns this year. They were helping us out a ton, and they're the guys that would never be possible with doing the camera work, doing the production work.
Great camera work.
Exactly.
Unreal.
And for a couple guys Drew Flaherty, yep. I believe he's a freshman. He had never really done a ton of camera work, and he came, and right away he was very good on camera, very good with production. And without them, I mean, without anyone, without Kevin Taji, Ian Deming, yep. Without any of these people, would never be possible. And I would tell them, come down to Abington Cam, come, introduce yourself. Because I felt at home right away when I was calling games my sophomore year. Yeah. I was started off with Mad Dog Matt Nelson, who's very welcoming, as you know. Yep. But I just come down, and Mr. Tachi, Ian, everyone will make you feel welcome. And for me, it was always been a passion of mine. I always said, being in the sports media world, it's like never working a day in your life. So it's always been a dream of mine. And hopefully I'll continue to pursue it. But anyone interested, come down to Abington Cam, because it's like a family down here. And I'm gonna miss it when I move on.
Yeah, it's like, you don't have to have a plan to be a professional sports broadcaster or a professional cameraman to get involved with it. If you love the game, whether it's basketball or hockey or football or whatever, and you're gonna be at the game anyhow, why not be part of the production? Because you get the best view. If you like, you can do the technical part of it, either with the camera work or the audio stuff. Or if you like James and I, and you just can't stop talking during a game, you might as well put a microphone on you. And if you're excited, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I go to a game and I'm not on the mic, it's difficult not to be talking during the game because I'm used to talking throughout the entire game.
Well, I'm sure my parents would agree. I mean, I'm always sitting on the couch. I'm just rambling on, this should happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And that's why they like when I'm, at the games and I'm calling it. That way they don't have to listen to me and they can actually just listen to me on TV. But I've always loved to just talk about sports or, anything. I mean, I feel like I can just have a conversation about anything and like put a microphone on and I just, it's like I said, it's been a passion of mine. There's times I'm watching a Celtics game in the living room, I'll mute the TV and I'll start practicing because you can always get better.
Yeah.
And I'm just, calling the game and in my living room when my mom walks in, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know, I think I'm Mike Gorman. So
why not though? And it's always good if you have a pair of broadcasters. They call them play-by-play guys and color guys. Usually you're both doing the same thing. You're having a conversation, you're both reacting, and you get to yell during the game, and the fans around you get into it because they hear you talking. And as you know, the student athletes themselves who get to go back and watch the game later and hear your description of it. And yeah, sometimes we go over the top because that's what, we're homers, right? I mean,
Exactly.
Unabashed Green Wave fans, but it's fun. And Abington students are very, they very much appreciate the fact that they can go back and watch their games now from 20 years ago. I have friends of mine who are actually former student athletes who were in college, and they were watching their games on the internet, and they were saying their friends were like from other states were like, "What is this?" He goes, "These are my high school games." I'm like, "What?" He goes, he said, "Yeah, I have every high school game I've ever played on the internet. I can watch it anytime I want." And they're like, they can't fathom that. But in Abington, we almost take it for granted. And that's thanks to all the volunteers and especially lately, the student interns, the middle school and high school kids who step up. And it's impressive and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And we're going to miss you. I know you've still got now your spring season. You're going to be playing baseball. So those are always great takes to go down and see those at the Tom Graham Diamond right behind the Memorial Field. Any final words you want to say to wrap up about your either your past career or the future finishing out here at Abington High?
I mean, I'm very grateful to have been a part of Abington Camp. I mean, I still have a few more months here, and like I said, I'm hoping to come back and maybe do a game on Christmas break. But I mean, I love it here, and like I said, if any kids, whether freshman, sophomore, even if you're a junior and you're gonna be a senior next year, anyone interested in media, whether like you said it's production, camera work, or being like on-air talent, whatever it is, it doesn't hurt to just come, get your foot in the door, introduce yourself, become a part of the team here because we have great interns, we have great people that will include you. Like I said, Mr. Tachi, Ian Deming, two of the best people to be around here in the studio, and whether I'm on a call in the studio doing a podcast or just stopping by to say hello. I mean, it's like a family here, and anyone looking to get involved, don't be nervous. Just come down, and you'll be included pretty easily.
Are we going to hear your voice from broadcasters from Kansas in the next couple of years? Do you think is that one of your goals?
I think so. I think I'm hoping to become a part of. They have a student radio station where they broadcast all the games, like the football, basketball, baseball. I think they have a very good volleyball program out there. So I'm just hoping to get involved with whatever I can, any sports. I need to really, get better at some other sports. So, it doesn't hurt to learn as many sports as you can. So
they have a great basketball program at Kansas, right?
Yeah, I think I looked at a stat. They've sold out every game for 36 years. So
really,
I'm dying. That's a bucket list place for any basketball fan, and I'm dying to get out there for a game. I've been out on campus a few times, but I haven't been to a game just yet. So I'm looking forward to next season to getting to a game out there.
Well, if I'm in Kansas during the next 4 years, I'll be calling you for tickets. We'll see what happens, or sit next to you in the booth and just see how you do it. But James, I want to thank you for coming on Green Wave Nation. You have just been a huge contribution to the community here at Abington High School. And I know we've got a couple more months of you, which we're going to enjoy. We'll probably, instead of hearing you on the microphone, we might hear you barking out of the dugout or on the field, down at the baseball field. But this is James Madden. I'm Shawn Reilly. I want to thank everyone for tuning in here to The Buzz. And I hope to see you out there in the playing fields. As the weather gets better, the teams are out there, and it's just a great time to kind of relax and cheer for some of these student athletes who really enjoy it, and it really adds to the community when everyone's out there and having a lot of fun together. So thanks for tuning in. I want to thank, again, James Spinney, our earlier guest from our wrestling team. He had a great season this year, and James Madden, who has done just about everything to make everything better here at Abington High School for Green Wave Nation. So thanks for tuning in.
Now Simon, one-on-one with McSherry, thought about the pull-up J. Some great defense. Loose ball gathered by Jake McSherry, and the Green Wave defense has been lethal in this fourth quarter. Transition three from Stady is good. Tyler Stady, a big-time three from the sophomore, and the Green Wave have their first lead since the second quarter. In the Green Wave with all the momentum, dishes it off McSherry, off the glass and in. Textbook fast break offense from the Green Wave, and they lead by 5. Loose ball, jumped on the floor, and Green Wave ball. Brendan McNamara was out of bounds with his hands on the ball, and the Green Wave are catching every break with 2:08 to play in the fourth quarter. Tyler Stady is at the free throw line. Stady 2 for 2 from the line, perfect from the stripe, and it's a 2-possession ball game. If you're the Green Wave, you can't foul a three-point shooter. Down the lane, Gerard, rather that was Parallon out of bounds. McSherry gathers it. Down the court, Will LeBlanc in transition. Medway won't foul, and that will do it at Abington High School. A barn burner and an all-time classic for the Abington Green Wave. A great game between both teams, back and forth all night long. And the Green Wave have a date in the round of 16, the Sweet 16, between the winner of tomorrow night's game between Charlestown and Dighton Rehoboth.